Let's just start things out with what got my attention this week. Tuesday, America kind of soft on Europe. Wednesday, a whole lot firmer. What happened in that bilateral?
Well, we're neither soft nor firmer. The president has made it clear he really wants this to be brought to a head very quickly, hopefully in a very positive manner. And that's all that's going on.
What are the objectives?
Objectives are the same as they've always been. We have problems with standards. We have problems with tariffs. We have problems with a number of other non-tariff trade barriers.
A lot of problems, Secretary Ross. How do you achieve those objectives so quickly?
Well, it's not a question of so quickly. Everybody's known the issues for years and years. It isn't like we're just inventing these issues.
Well, let's talk about some of the issues on the table at the moment. The president is unhappy with the digital tax coming out of France. Secretary Mnuchin said the following. I want to read that quote to you because I think it's really important. If people want to just arbitrarily put taxes on our digital companies, we will consider arbitrarily putting taxes on car companies. Can you arbitrarily put taxes on car companies?
Well, first of all, it's not arbitrary.
The Secretary's words, not mine.
We went through a whole process with the 232 investigation of autos. President has digested that. We have a perfect justification to put tariffs on if we wish to. President had decided it was better to negotiate. We've had very constructive negotiations with the German car manufacturers, with the Korean, and with the Japanese. So far we haven't felt a need to do it. But if people do silly things, if they do protectionist and discriminatory things like the Pillar 1 of the digital service tax, we obviously are going to respond.
Well, let's talk about the Section 232 investigation. Self-imposed deadline the middle of November. From what you've just said, from what I'm hearing, is that the outcome of that investigation was that it is a national security risk at the moment. Is that true?
The president so announced, yes.
Where's the follow-through? Because the middle of November is when we expected to see the follow-through. And now people look at the self-imposed deadline and say, well, it's expired. The administration can't use Section 232 anymore because that deadline has expired.
Well, they simply don't understand Section 232.
Walk us through it.
What was needed in November was for the president to decide on a path forward. He did. He decided the path forward was to negotiate as long as that was bearing fruit, rather than just immediately put in something else.
But your interpretation of the legal issues is that Section 232 in that investigation still applies.
Absolutely.
Even though the self-imposed deadline has come and gone.
This is an imaginary deadline. The deadline was that he would take a decision. He took a decision, period.
Well, let's talk about what could happen and what would need to happen to stop those auto tariffs from going on. As things stand currently, the tariff for cars coming out of the United States into Europe is 10%, as you know. And the tariff for autos coming out of Europe into the United States, I believe, is 2.5%.
2.5%.
There are some big truck tariffs there, some SUV tariffs for the United States that really skew a lot of this. What would you like to see from the Europeans in the coming months to put things to one side and move on?
Well, first of all, this digital service thing clearly is meant to be discriminatory. There are very few companies in the whole world other than the American companies that fit that definition. So the clear intent was to be discriminatory. We have other laws that also enable us to retaliate against discriminatory behavior. If there is discriminatory behavior, we will fight back. Forget anything else.
Is that a red line? If the French go through with this, they've delayed it, but if they go through with it, is that a red line for this administration?
Well, that's up to the president to decide at the time. It depends what else is going on. But it is clear that this is a protectionist and discriminatory proposal that was made.
You're there in the room with the president a lot of the time as he meets EU officials. Has he told them that that's a red line?
He doesn't use terms like red line.
What does he say to them? Take us inside the room. What does that conversation look like? What does he tell them they need to do?
No, I'm not going to take you inside the room. We have a thing called executive privilege in the States. There's been a little litigation over it, as you might have noticed.
There has been. I understand that.
So the last thing I'm going to do is to yield ground on it.